My boss looked straight at me as if he had rehearsed the moment and said my team had become divisive. He delivered the line right after announcing that the bonuses we earned through 300% growth were being reassigned to departments that needed more support. The conference room fell into an awful, echoing stillness. No one moved. No one breathed. I felt 12 pairs of eyes slide toward me, each carrying a different kind of hurt. Ethan's confusion, May's disbelief, Jordan's fury just barely held together at the edges. My name is Cara Ellington, and I have led the precision assembly team at our Austin contract manufacturing site for 4 years. I have weathered machine failures, supply crises, impossible deadlines, and corporate reorgs, but I had never witnessed humiliation delivered so cleanly, so deliberately. Cara, my boss, Neil Harwood, added with a thin smile. You should understand, exceptional output can disrupt culture if not balanced. May whispered, balanced. We worked 6 days a week for 3 months. Neil did not even turn toward her. Culture matters more than raw numbers. Other teams felt overshadowed. Jordan's chair scraped sharply against the floor. So we're being punished for doing our jobs too well. Mind your tone, Neil replied. No one is being punished. We are protecting cohesion. Something inside me steadied at that word. Protecting. He was not protecting us. He was protecting himself. I watched my team crumble, May blinking back tears. Ethan shaking his head as if he could physically reject the insult. Their pride snapping. Their trust in one another beginning to splinter. Exactly what Neil wanted. I could feel my own pulse rising, but instead of breaking, I let out a quiet breath and forced a smile. Not a warm one. A precise one. A warning. Everyone, I said. Pushing back my chair, meeting in my office. Now. Chairs rustled. Eyes widened. Neil's expression faltered just slightly, just enough for me to see he had not expected me to move first. My team stood and followed me out, their steps unsteady, the fracture already beginning. And as we left that room, I realized the real damage had only just begun. The moment my team and I stepped out of the conference room, the hallway changed. Conversations broke apart mid-sentence. People who had greeted us every morning for years suddenly found their phones fascinating. I heard a hiss of laughter behind someone's hand, followed by a muttered, "There they go." Ethan walked close beside me, jaw clenched. They heard everything, he murmured. They were meant to, I said. Neil had wanted an audience. Inside Austin Facility 3, politics traveled faster than any work order. By the time we reached our workstations, our Slack channels were unnervingly quiet. Threads that usually flew with questions, updates, and late-night jokes now showed unread messages from earlier that morning. Nothing after the meeting. It was like someone had flipped a switch. May typed a greeting into the main channel. No response. After a long minute, she whispered, "Did they mute us?" Jordan spun his monitor toward me. A screenshot filled the screen, our team's photo edited into a mock poster titled, "The Dividers." The caption read, 300% output, 0% teamwork. He swallowed hard. Who would make something like this so fast? Ethan snapped. Everyone's been jealous for months. Maybe now they finally get to say it out loud. May rubbed her temples. Maybe Neil's right. Maybe we did make people feel overshadowed. Her voice cracked, and I felt something twist inside me. No, I said sharply. We worked hard. That is not a crime. Before I could say more, Louis, normally the quietest on our line, shoved his stool back so hard it toppled. I'm not doing this, he said, eyes burning. I'm not letting people call me divisive when all I did was my job. He stormed out, the door slamming behind him. Jordan exhaled shakily. Cara, this feels coordinated. He was right. The meme, the silence, the stares. None of it had the randomness of gossip. It was too quick, too polished, too ready. I tightened my grip on the edge of my workstation, steadying myself as the noise of the plant swelled around us. Something larger was unfolding, something set in motion long before the meeting, and whoever had started it was hoping we would fall apart before we ever saw their face. By mid-afternoon, the tension inside our area felt heavier than the machinery around us. No one argued with the memes, or the silence on Slack, or the glances from other lines. Instead, they turned the sharp edges inward. Ethan slammed a tool drawer shut. I'm done with this, he said. I already sent HR a request to transfer to line 7. I straightened. You did what it is not personal. Cara. I just need distance. 10 minutes later, he returned, angrier than before. Denied. HR says moving me would disrupt operational continuity. Translation. Neil does not want me going anywhere. May had been quiet all day, but now she sank onto a chair, her voice thin. 3 months of overtime, 200 hours of extra shifts. And this is what we get. Jordan crouched beside her. May, breathe, we are figuring this out. She shook her head and wiped her face. I trusted this place. I trusted all of you. Before I could speak, Tyler stepped forward. Arms crossed tight. Maybe we should talk about how we ended up here. Cara pushed us harder than any team in this building. Maybe that is why everyone hates us. Jordan shot back. Do not blame her for Neil's garbage. I am not blaming, Tyler snapped. I am saying she should have seen this coming. You do not get 300% growth without making enemies, May whispered. Maybe she trusted the wrong people. I felt the words land heavy, accurate, and cruel. Enough, I said quietly. If I pushed too hard, that is on me, but none of you deserved what Neil did today. Tyler's jaw tightened. You still think this is only about today? Something in his tone made my stomach drop. I stepped closer. What are you saying? He hesitated, then lowered his voice. There were meetings, conversations with management, questions about our workflow. Someone has been talking, feeding them details. The room went still. Ethan looked at the others, then at me, who no one answered. But all of us felt the same cold recognition. The fracture was no longer coming from outside. It was already inside us, widening with every breath. My office barely fit 6 people on a normal day, now 12 crowded inside, leaning against filing cabinets and walls, shoulders tense, breaths uneven. I closed the door and pressed my back to it as if holding the world out. Tyler stood with his arms crossed. May clutched a tissue. Ethan paced in a narrow line across the carpet. No one spoke. They were waiting for me to break first. I stepped forward. What happened today was not about our performance. It never was. Jordan let out a bitter laugh. Neil basically called us a threat. He did, I said, because excellence threatens a fragile hierarchy. We made this facility look good, just not the right people. May's voice trembled. Then why call us divisive? Why make everyone hate us because it is easier to turn the building against us than admit certain managers benefited from our work? I said. The label is a tactic, not a truth. Ethan stopped pacing. So we are the scapegoats. Yes, I said, and I need to say something to all of you. If I pushed too hard these past months, if I demanded more than I should have, it was because I believed excellence would be rewarded. I was wrong. The room shifted, shoulders loosened, breathing steadied. Their exhaustion did not disappear, but for the first time all day, they were looking at me instead of at the floor. Tyler lowered his arms. So what do we do now? We decide who we are, I said, not who Neil tells the building we are. If we let him turn us on one another, he wins. If we stay aligned, he loses control of the story. Jordan nodded. No more letting them pit us against each other. May brushed a tear away. I want to fight back. Together. A murmur of agreement rose through the cramped room. Thin but real. They did not know what retaliation would come next. Neither did I. But for the first time since the meeting, we were standing on the same side of the line. By the next morning, the fallout had shifted from whispers to something sharper. Ethan waved me over to his workstation, his face drained. Cara, look at this. The spindle variance logs from last week. They are gone. I leaned in. Gone how gone, as in deleted. The entire chain. Before I could respond, May hurried toward us with her tablet pressed to her chest. My QA tickets disappeared, she said. Everyone I filed during the rush build in January. They are not archived. They are not closed. They are just gone. Jordan tapped rapidly at his console. Check this out. The calibration file you uploaded for the torque tools. It now lists Randall from line 5 as the uploader. I felt a cold weight settle under my ribs. That file had my signature. How would his name replace mine? Ethan muttered. Only someone with admin-level access could overwrite that. I called it EE. The technician sounded polite, bored, and unhelpful. No record of unusual activity. Cara, everything looks normal in the mez. Normal, I repeated. Entire logs are missing. Maybe user error, he suggested. Maybe they were never entered properly. Jordan snorted loud enough for the tech to hear before I ended the call. The room felt as if someone had drained the oxygen from it. Silence formed a tight ring around us until Luis approached cautiously. Cara, can I talk to you alone? I stepped aside with him. He kept his eyes on the floor. Your boss asked me to report anything that seemed off. He said it was for leadership alignment. Ethan turned sharply. You told Neil about us. No, Luis whispered. I told him nothing, but he knew things anyway, before they happened. The cold weight under my ribs tightened. Someone was rewriting our work, erasing pieces of us from the system where our value lived. I opened a new folder on my tablet and began backing up every file I could reach. Every shift log, every timestamp, every ticket, whatever truth remained. I needed to save it before someone decided it no longer existed. The moment we gathered again, I set my tablet on the table and looked at each of them. We cannot undo the damage they are trying to create, I said, but we can keep them from rewriting who we are. Ethan crossed his arms. So what is the plan first? I said. Every one of you keeps private archives, timestamps, batch yields, cycle counts, shift logs, everything you personally touch. Save it off-site if you need to. May frowned. That is going to make them suspicious. They are already suspicious, Jordan replied. They deleted our data, I continued. Second, no one speaks to management alone. If Neil or anyone else pulls you aside, you say, I will answer with my team lead present. Nothing good comes from private conversations right now, Tyler nodded slowly. And the rumors facts only, I said. No emotion, no defensiveness. If someone says we refuse to share process data, you say, our workflow documents were submitted on time. If they claim we were uncooperative, you say, our deliverables hit target, nothing else. A chime sounded from my laptop. An email from HR. I opened it, and the room went still. Cara Ellington, the message read, we have received anonymous feedback regarding leadership concerns. Specifically, allegations of creating internal factions and undermining collaborative culture. We request a meeting by the end of the week. Jordan swore under his breath. They are coming after you now. May looked panicked. Cara, they cannot be serious. They are very serious, I said quietly. This is not about punishing us. It is about discrediting us before the truth comes out. Ethan stepped closer. Then what do we do? I looked at each of them, 12 faces that had once walked into this building with pride. We draw a line, I said. No more silence, no more surrender. We stand together, or we let them decide our story for us. Tyler exhaled slowly. Then we stand. The others nodded, tired but resolute. For the first time, it was no longer just my fight. It was ours. The request came just after lunch. A major automotive client wanted a full rush build order completed in 36 hours. Under normal conditions, it took at least 72. Ethan stared at the production specs. This is impossible. We do not even have the staffing for a double shift. I know, I said. Which is why it should go to another line, before I could escalate it. Neil appeared behind us, hands tucked casually into his pockets. No need to involve upper management. Cara, your team can handle this. Jordan stepped forward. We cannot, not without sacrificing safety checks. Neil's smile sharpened. If your team is not divisive, prove it. I felt heat rise in my chest. Assigning us a guaranteed failure does not prove anything, except he cut me off, except that leadership can still rely on you when it matters. By the end of the shift, a disciplinary memo arrived in my inbox. Failure to demonstrate collaborative mindset. Resistance to operational needs, flagged for review. May saw the notification on my screen. They are punishing you for pushing back, Tyler muttered. They want you gone so they can blame everything on us. The pressure inside me snapped like an overstressed weld. I grabbed my badge and walked out to the back corridor, needing air. I was halfway to the exit when someone called my name. Cara, wait. It was Ravi Patel, a senior engineer from Line 2. We barely spoke beyond technical coordination. He glanced around before lowering his voice. I heard something you need to know. I steadied myself. What is it, your boss? He said. The bonus reallocation. He started planning it weeks before your results were even finalized. He told our supervisor that your team needed to be brought back to reality before you embarrassed the rest of the division. The words hit like a physical strike, Ravi continued. This is not random hostility. He set the stage long before today. I closed my eyes, letting the truth settle heavy, undeniable. Nothing we were facing was accidental. It had all been engineered. Neil summoned me with a single-line email, performance review, conference room 2, urgent, no team members, no HR witness, a deliberate setup. When I stepped inside, the blinds were drawn. Neil sat alone with a thick stack of printed reports. He gestured toward the chair across from him. Sit, Cara. We need to address your team's failures. I kept my expression neutral. Show me what you have. He spread the papers like a dealer laying out a losing hand. Yield drops from early February. Schedule slips on the last 3 builds. Calibration inconsistencies. All documented under your team's workflow. I looked at the sheets. Entire columns were altered numbers sanded down, timestamps misaligned, file authors reassigned. Jordan's voice rang in my memory. Someone is rewriting history. Neil leaned back, satisfied. This is what happens when a group becomes obsessed with looking exceptional instead of being reliable. I folded my hands in my lap and waited until he finished talking. Then I placed my own folder on the table. Here are the originals, I said. Archived off-site, timestamped, verified. He frowned. That is not official data. It is the data before someone accessed the MES under your credentials. For the first time, the confidence slipped. You are making dangerous accusations. A knock interrupted him. The door opened, and Senior Director Marlene Ortiz stepped inside, her expression unreadable. Do not stop on my account, she said. I received a packet last night, a compilation of discrepancies, including screenshots of the changes made from your login. Neil's face drained. Marlene, this is taken out of context. It is enough to initiate an audit, she replied. Effective immediately. He opened his mouth, closed it again. The power he relied on so easily had evaporated in a single breath. Marlene turned to me. Cara, you will cooperate fully. Your team may be contacted. I nodded, feeling the shift ripple through the room. The meeting he thought he controlled now belonged to the truth we had refused to surrender. The internal audit began the next morning. At first, investigators asked only about my team's workflow, but within hours they were knocking on doors across the entire facility. By noon, murmurs spread through the break rooms. Other departments had seen the same patterns we had. Ethan approached me quietly. Quality control just told me their bonus pool was diverted last quarter. No explanation, Jordan added. Line 5 reported manipulated scrap rate logs. Same formatting issues as ours. Then May whispered. Someone from training said Neil forced them into weekly culture alignment meetings. They had to identify which teams were becoming too visible. Each statement chipped away at the lie Neil had built around us. His tactics were not personal, they were systemic. On the 3rd day of the audit, HR requested my team in the large conference room. The investigators reviewed our archives, compared timestamps, traced ME's edits back to login histories. One of them looked up and said, Your documentation is the only reason any of this is traceable. By the end of the week, the announcement came from Senior Director Ortiz herself. She addressed the entire Austin facility with Neil standing beside her, rigid and pale. Effective immediately, she said, Neil Harwood is being reassigned to regulatory compliance, where all activity is subject to external review. A quiet shock rippled through the floor. Compliance was not a promotion. It was a cage, every email logged, every report audited, every decision scrutinized. Neil did not speak. He simply nodded, jaw tight. Knowing the entire building understood the message, the man who weaponized policy was now bound to it. As he stepped away from the podium, Ethan leaned toward me. He did this to so many people. They finally saw it. HR released updated guidelines the same afternoon, bonuses tied strictly to verified output, audit trails required for edits, no sole authority decisions on performance narratives. Our names were cleared, our data restored. The political machine Neil built had collapsed under the weight of its own lies. And for the first time in months, my team walked across the floor without lowering their eyes. 2 weeks after the audit closed, Senior Director Ortiz called me into her office. She did not waste time. Cara, your team will lead a new pilot initiative, transparent yield tracking, real-time MS monitoring, shared bonus pools based solely on verified data. I blinked. You want us to test it? No, she said. I want you to build it. When I shared the news with my team, the room filled with a quiet awe. Ethan looked stunned. May covered her mouth. Jordan let out a shaky laugh. After everything that happened, he said, "They trust us with this. They trust the facts," I replied. "And the facts say we know how to deliver." The first weeks were brutal late nights, rewrites, recalibrations, but for the first time in a long time, we were arguing about process, not survival. Departments that once avoided us now asked for our workflows. Vendors referenced our data sets in renewal calls. One client told me directly, "Your team is the reason we stayed with this facility." One afternoon, while loading updated metrics into the system, I noticed a new approval tag on the dashboard. Compliance review, Harwood. Ethan saw it too. "He has to sign off on our results," he said softly. It was true. Every report showcasing our accuracy. Every build proving our efficiency. Every data set reflecting the integrity he tried to erase. Neil now had to verify them personally, May whispered. "He used to call us divisive. Now he documents our success," I said. A week later, I crossed the production floor alone. The machines hummed steadily, a rhythm of metal and intention. Workers nodded at me, not out of fear or caution, but recognition. My team walked with confidence again. The fractures had healed into something stronger. Ravi approached with a clipboard. "Your pilot program is spreading to the other facilities," he said. "They are calling it the Ellington model." I did not need the title. The real victory was simpler. We had not broken the system. We had made the system rewrite itself around the truth we refused to surrender.